When you think of countries with the most amazing inventions, who do you think of? America? England? Well, I bet you didn't think of Australia. Australia has actually made some of the most important and useful things. My name is Rowan Knight and you're watching The Rowan Knight Show, and this is the top 10 Australian inventions. 10. Ute. Oh yeah, you knew this was coming. Of course Australia invented the ute type of cars. Ross Bent, who worked at Ford at the time, designed the ute in Geelong, Victoria in 1932. Ross Bent designed the ute after he got a letter from a farmer's wife asking for a vehicle to go to church in on a Sunday and which can carry our pigs to market on Mondays. Henry Ford nicknamed it the Kangaroo Chaser. 9. Electric drill. People who like using electric drills even thank Australian inventor Arthur James Arnott for inventing the electric drill. Arthur originally created a large drill to cut through rock and coal meant for the mining industry. However, the first handheld drill was made in Stuttgart, Germany by Wilhelm and Carl Fien. The first drill that looks like the one we use today was made by Black & Decker in 1900, but Australia did still invent the original electric drill. 8. Tank. Yes, the tank was not invented somewhere like America or England. Instead, it was invented in Australia. Lancelot de Mol invented a tank after being inspired by the uncomfortable experience of travelling over rough terrain in the Western Australian countryside. Lancelot de Mol developed and then submitted an idea of a tracked armoured vehicle, train rail vehicle which could be easily steered and carry heavy loads over rough ground trenches, to a British War Office in 1912. In June 1913, he received a reply that his idea had been rejected. Mol of his tank is displayed at the Australian War Memorial, Canberra. 7. Notebook. Yep, an Australian invented a notebook. In 1902, J.A. Birchall of Birchall's, a Launceston, Tasmania-based stationery shop, decided that the cumbersome method of selling writing paper in folded stacks of quires, 4 sheets of paper or parchment folded to form 8 leaves, was inefficient. As a solution, he glued together a stack of halved sheets of paper, supported by a sheet of cardboard, creating what he called the Silver City Writing Tablet, although there is a legend that Thomas W. Holly of Holyoke, Massachusetts invented a notebook around the year 1888 when he innovated the idea to collect all the various substandard paper scraps from various factories and stitch them together in order to sell them as pads at an affordable and fair price. In about 1900, the latter then evolved into a modern notebook when a local judge requested for a margin to be drawn on the left side of the paper. However, that is just a legend, and the official first notebook was invented in Australia. 6. Polymer banknote. If you're American, you probably have no idea what on earth I mean by polymer banknotes, but polymer banknotes are a plastic type of banknote that's hard to rip or forge copies of. The first polymer banknote was released in 1988 in Australia and was worth $10, and since then the polymer banknotes have been released in Brunei, Canada, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Romania, Kuwait, Vietnam, the United Kingdom, Cape Verde, Chile, the Gambia, Nicaragua, Trinidad, Tobago, Republic of Maldives, and Nepal. The polymer banknote was developed by Reserve Bank of Australia, the CSIRO, Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, and the University of Melbourne. 5. Dual flush toilet. Yep, Australia invented the dual flush toilet, although it was first proposed by American industrial designer Victor Papanek in his 1976 book Design for a Real World. However, the first practical design was done by Bruce Thompson, who worked at Cromer at the time in 1980. The dual flush toilet has since become almost universally adopted in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Israel. 4. Feature film. Yep, Australia created the first film over an hour long. The Story of the Kelly Gang was a silent film made in 1906. The film was about the well-known Australian bushranger Ned Kelly. The film was possibly inspired by Kelly Gang by Arnold Denham. The budget was £1,000 or £4,000 today, and the box office money was £25,000 at the time or £50,000 today. The film was given a week of trial screenings in country towns in the late 1906, which quickly made the money they spent back. Ned Kelly had been executed only 26 years before. The Story of the Kelly Gang was made, and Ned's mother Ellen and younger brother Jim were still alive at the time of its release. According to a synopsis given by a surviving program, the film originally comprised of 6 sequences. These provided a loose narrative based on a Kelly gang story. Scene 1. Police discuss a warrant for Dan Kelly's arrest. Later, Kate Kelly rebuffs the attentions of a trooper. Scene 2. The killings of Kennedy, Scannion, and Lonergan at Stonybark Creek by the gang. Scene 3. The hold-up at Young Husband's station and a bank hold-up. Scene 4. Various gang members and supporters evade the police and the gang killing of Aaron Sherritt. Scene 5. They attempt to derail train and scenes at the Glenrowan Inn. The police surround the hotel. Dan Kelly and Steve Hart die by each other's hands after Joe Byrne is shot dead. Scene 6. The closing scene. Dan Kelly fights hard but is shot in the legs. He begs the troopers to spare his life, thus falls to the last of the Kelly gang. 3. Black Box Fire Recorder. American Professor James J. Crash Ryan originally patented the black box fire recorder in 1953. However, earlier that year, Australian engineer David Oram, created by SAT, would record the instrument's output and record the voices in the cockpit. He finished building the first prototype in 1958 while working at Australian research labs. However, as far as I know, he didn't patent it. 2. Refrigerator. Yep, Australia invented the refrigerator or fridge. Before the refrigerator was invented, people used ice houses, although the first official refrigeration design was designed by Scottish professor William Cullen and not an Australian. The first practical refrigerator was designed by an Australian. His name was James Harrison. James Harrison created an ice-making machine in 1851 on the banks of the Barwon River at Rocky Point in Geelong, Victoria. In 1854, he made a commercial version. They patented it in 1856. Harrison also introduced commercial vapor compression refrigeration to breweries and meat packing houses. And by 1861, a dozen of the systems were in operation. 1. Wi-Fi. Yep, Australia invented Wi-Fi. When I say Wi-Fi, I mean wirelessly connecting to the internet, not the internet. The internet was invented by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in England, not America. Wi-Fi was developed by CSIRO. The picture that's on screen now is the first computer to wirelessly connect to another computer, which I was lucky enough to see at an exhibition at the National Museum of Australia called A History of the World in 100 Objects, which is on once a year, so if you're visiting Australia, I'd highly recommend going to Canberra and visiting it. In case you're wondering what the distance record is for range, it is 420 kilometers and was achieved by a Swedish space agency. Now you know all of the amazing inventions Australia has made, and your life has almost certainly been changed by Australian inventions. Leave a comment if you're using one of these inventions right now, leave a like if you learned something new, and subscribe for more top lists. My name is Ryan Knight, and this is the Ryan Show. Goodbye.